On November 18th, 1978, over 900 people killed each other and themselves at the order of Reverend Jim Jones. But why would so many people obey one man even unto death? These people were part of a group known as the People's Temple, a group which has since been labeled a cult. What's even more surprising is that the tragic mass murder-suicide of the People's Temple was just one of several landmark cult events of the late 20th century. But what does it really mean for a group to be a cult? I've researched the topic of cults thoroughly, and I hope to demystify that question through my speech today. Well, it's safe to say that most people have heard of cults. Mysterious, frightening imagery of strange rituals and hooded figures come to mind just by mentioning the word. It seems like every year we get a hit new docudrama on Netflix on cult history. The film Midsommar, which features a fictional cult, grossed over $48 million at the box office, which was more than 5 times the film's budget. For some mysterious reason, audiences seem to have a morbid fascination with the topic of cults. Well, I hope to demystify the topic for you today. In my speech, I'm going to be speaking on what a cult is, what draws people to cults, and what impact cults have on our society. First, let's explore what a cult is. Let's begin that exploration by being a bit mindful of the language that we're using. As described by Doctor of Philosophy Edward Graham Hyde in his 2021 article released in the Implicit Religion Journal, in modern rhetoric, the term cult is a catch-all pejorative used to label and reinforce negative opinions of groups perceived as other or different. Many groups labeled cults could more accurately be described as new religious movements. But how did this label form, and what characteristics does it describe? The unprecedented news coverage of cult events of the late 20th century involved groups like the Branch Davidians, Heaven's Gate, Aum Shinrikyo, and the previously mentioned People's Temple. These groups not only shared news headlines, but many uncommon characteristics. As described in her 2023 essay released in the Virginia Quarterly Review, former cult member and freelance journalist Sarah Fuss Kessler describes some of these characteristics. The preposterous theology and bylaws, the homogeneous and unstylish dress, ecstatic faces in ritual, the wanton or restricted sexuality, and the monstrous, eccentric leader who dreamt it all up. These common characteristics and a theatrical news coverage of them formed a popular identity of cults in the population's eyes. Now that we're more familiar about what cults are, let's talk about why these groups form and why people are drawn to them. Humans are social animals, and it's not just an emotional need either. People are less physically healthy when they feel disconnected from others. In May of 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General released a public health advisory through the Department of Health and Human Services. The advisory stated that America is experiencing a new epidemic, an epidemic of loneliness. The advisory also spoke on the severe negative impacts that loneliness can have on a person's health, likening the effects of loneliness to smoking daily. Cults capitalize on this fact. Many cult members join cults at social low points in their lives, just seeking to meet their basic social needs. So, cults are just a dysfunctional form of normal human social behavior. What makes them so great in movies? When audiences consume disturbing stories about cults, perhaps some of the fascination comes from considering the edges of our own social habits. In her 2021 book released by Harper Wave, New York Times bestselling author Amanda Montrell says, "Humans are social and spiritual by design. Our behaviors are driven for our desire for belonging and purpose. We are cultish by nature. Humans walk, talk, dress, and act like each other in an effort to feel like we are part of a bigger whole. Cults scare us because many of us wonder if we could be sucked into a group like this. And if we were, how far would we really go to fit in with the group?" This widely relatable fear of social dysfunction makes cult stories very popular and compelling. Next, let's talk about the impact that cults have on us. The previously mentioned cult scares of the late 20th century have made a huge impact on society. As described in her 2018 study released in the Journal of Alternative and Emergent Religions, Susanna Crockford describes how the continuing popularity of the phrase drinking the Kool-Aid is just one example of the impact that cults have had on our pop culture. Another major impact that cults have had is how the general population views new and minority religious movements. New religious movements and minority religions are widely discriminated against. In their 2021 study released in Religion, Politics, and Ideology, Bar Ilan professors Etty Peretz and Jonathan Fox describe how the Unification Church, Scientologists, and other groups who are emerging religions experience more discrimination than established religion, and that this trend increased in the mid-1990s. The dramatic actions of some religious groups have caused long-lasting damage to our religious diversity. With time, perhaps this impact will fade, but for now, cults still cast a wide shadow on our culture. My speech today gave you an overview on the topic of cults. I hope that you've enjoyed hearing about what cults are, what draws people to cults, and what impact cults have on us. In our rapidly shifting social landscape, and with the dramatic events surrounding the formation of new religious movements in recent history, I wonder what religion will look like for our future generations. Thank you.